Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, agents. I am Mounty Carl, and we are back with another Let's Talk. And this week, with the State of the Game announcement that the new Elite Task Force will focus on Darkzone and PvP in general, I thought we should sit down and talk about the things that I had originally revisited on some of the options for the Darkzone that I previously spoke about in videos way back when, and especially when they were going over and asking how we're going to change 1.4. So I came up with a bunch of ideas, and those are in my old videos, and now I want to kind of refine them for this one since that is going to be the focus. Now, in order to prepare for this talk, and while I would love to head out to the ETF out in North Carolina and give them my feedback, I probably have thrown a little too much shade at Massive, and I have a feeling at this point even trees are jealous of how much shade I've thrown. However, my saltiness only goes so far, and I think that the current iteration of the division, while it has its problems, offers up something for everyone, and why not? It is the closest that we have gotten to 1.1 since 1.2. If I go back through my videos on rogues and the Darkzone, you will find that I came up with a ton of ideas from a PVE Darkzone to selecting your status prior to heading into the Darkzone, whether you want to go rogue or not rogue. I think it is time that we relook at some of these things now that those games like Survival are offering a PvP area outside of the Darkzone, and this is definitely a closed environment. This video might be longer than most, so sit back and enjoy it, but I promise there is something here for everyone, and I think you might find an idea that works for you, and that's something that you might just like. So first off, we're going to go ahead and hit the PVE Darkzone, since that was one of those things that everybody was clamoring for, yet Massive was like, let's go ahead and hold off on that. And now we see why, because they're offering a PvE and PvP survival, and that is actually going to be the basis of where we're going. And I want you to go ahead and stop right there. Don't click off of the button yet. Don't click the F off button, because what you're going to hear is something that might be different than what you previously heard from somebody else. Hear me out, please. Just listen to this, and because what I'm going to propose is slightly different than what you might have in mind of your typical Darkzone. Now, we have a new enemy, and we're going to go off on a slight tangent right here, but it's going to come full circle. The judge isn't going to come and hurry us up for making our point, but I think Massive is doing a disservice to that enemy by making it underutilized and practically useless. I think that the hunters are by far the least scary thing about the new update to begin with, and they were touted as these badass guys who are going to come in and wreck people. It's like adding the 4 horsemen to the new incursion and then making them just walk out a door posing no real challenge to anybody. Yeah, the 4 horsemen. Cool when we heard about it and we thought this is going to be an epic fight, and then we see the implementation and it's lackluster. This is how the hunters are. The cool new enemy of the division, and they are pretty much 5 seconds of on screen, and you're either, oh crap, I died, and you're hitting this, or you're hitting the Staples easy button and getting in the chopper and heading out of the survival area. The idea was solid, but the implementation lacked any real wow. When I worked on Tomb Raider, we strived to make it epic, and we took that word and we applied it. It was everywhere. Epic was everywhere, and we applied it to every facet of the game. If it wasn't considered epic in the game, it had to be reworked until it inspired the player to look upon it and say, wow, that shit is epic. And I'm not sure the word they used for hunters, but epic, badass, and scary aren't even in the realm of what these are. They're on screen for like 5 seconds and then they disappear, or they've killed you, or they're dead. And you can't even really tell what they are because they move so fast, and you're like, it's just a yellow enemy. When I first saw them, that's what I thought. But when I saw how they were implemented into the game, it was like taking the best idea you had and then saying, that's too awesome. We need something that is going to underwhelm our players. We need something that's so terrible that, they're not going to even care that the hunters are there. And that's pretty much what they are. And why am I telling you all this? Well, because Massive has an opportunity to make them the coolest enemy in the game. Imagine, if you will, 1.6 arrives and we are heading into the final stretch of year 1. The hunters have taken over the Darkzone, and it's random every time because survival is just one piece of that. The storm comes, the storm is past, and now the new Darkzone has emerged. Welcome to the PVE Darkzone. This Dark Zone will be the toughest challenge that any agent will face. It will make it so that this is the end game of endgame activities. You will go in and you will never know what is going to happen, because not only have hunters taken up residence after the storm, but they are everywhere and they are nowhere. You will not know where they are until it is possibly too late. They will quietly stalk you through the DZ. They may wait for you to extract. They may come in as one enemy. They may come in as a group. Hunters will not only kill you, they will take your items, and in order to get them back, you will need to go after them and find them. Now, when I say they'll take your items, just the items you're holding, not the actual items on your body, even though that would be cool, but people would be pissed at that stuff. So, the point is, if you really want those items, you'll need to go into the belly of the beast to get them back. However, if someone kills that hunter, they get your stuff, or that stuff drops as a world drop or whatever. Now, hunters don't care about purple items or blue, they just care about the yellows and the mint that you have in your sack. So if a team downs a hunter while it tries to escape, your loot is dropped in the world. It's free for anyone to take, and that is the point. Since this is PvE, there's no killing that player to get your stuff back. You just lost all your stuff if another player grabs it. Also, within this Dark Zone, there will be special events, much like I spoke about in a previous video, and it can be any number of cool bosses, from, an APC pulling up to a super boss that comes into the DZ. Each of these super bosses will have their own unique environments and stuff like that, or, well, not environments, but pieces of the Dark Zone that they come out of, and, they'll drop one named item specific to that boss, and it's a free-for-all. They drop one item, and that's it. Everybody has to rush for them. The teams that take part in the event will get to, loot the boss. However, be warned, it will take more than a team of 4 players to take down a super boss. The super bosses come with an army of followers, since many of those who were under the control of the faction leaders headed to the DZ after that leader died. So all the cleaners, if a super boss is a cleaner, all of Joe Farrow's little leaders will go into the DZ and join the super boss when they go into the DZ. These special loot items can be named gear pieces, a specialized name weapon, or even a gear set that will, possibly come together by killing multiple super bosses. It'll have a better gear score, better stats. It might be the only way to get your gear score above a certain level. It'll have better stats, better perks, and other named gear sets. Ideas for gear sets range from hunter masks, weapons that affect attributed, that have like incendiary rounds in them, or some other item. These events will push people into the DZ and make the time in the area hugely popular as these events occur. Not knowing when they occur and how to trigger them, because we could have like triggering events, like after so many things happen in the DZ, or after like something like that, after somebody picks up a Tommy gun out of a chest, or after there's a manhunt going through a certain area, it triggers one of these super bosses come out, and it pushes people into the Dark Zone to become the ultimate endgame activity. This is the PVE Dark Zone, the ultimate endgame activity, that it will make people actually happy and want to do the Dark Zone. People will strive to get those pieces of gear from those super bosses. People will be mad and salty when that one piece of gear drops and some noob runs up from the back and grabs that piece of gear. It's going to be much like the raids of WoW. I mean, it would be great if we could do like an 8-player Dark Zone or something like that, because at this point everybody is kind of grouped up anyways. There's no reason to have a 4-4-4-4, because what's going to happen is that you're all in this together. This is a cooperative Dark Zone, and you're basically in this together. Loot will be much more scarce, as opposed to like killing, they'll drop off bosses, but they won't have a high drop rate off of regular enemies, stuff like that. So that is my idea for that. And I'm sorry, this is actually going into the 10-minute mark, and I wasn't going to do a 20-minute video. I was just going to do a 10-minute video, and I have a lot of other stuff that I want to talk about in consideration with PvP Dark Zone activities, PvP Dark Zone. This isn't the only idea that I'm coming up with. There are lots of ideas that are going to be thrown around out there. So, all right. So, this actually went on longer. I expected, to go into some more of this and some more details, but instead of one super long video, what I'm going to do is I'm going to split this series into a series of videos that will cover everything from what's wrong with the DZ now, how to fix PvP, weapon and gear balancing in PvP, and other stuff leading up to the January date with the new ETF meets, because I think that there are a lot of things that we need to cover in the PvP, like what is wrong with the PvP. Part of my issue with the PvP is that it's all close range PvP. There's no skill, there's no tactics or anything like that. It's running up, popping a super, shooting people until they're down. That's not how this should be. There needs to be increased breaks on rolls. Somebody shouldn't be able to roll 15 times in a row. It doesn't help anybody if they're rolling and there's no accuracy after the roll. They need to break the roll up. They need to add some sort of stamina bar that it needs to refill up. They need to add something like, one of the things that I thought would be great is that if your run speed was based on how much stuff you were carrying. So if you had 67 items in your backpack, you would be at the lowest run speed. If you had 8 items in your backpack, you would have the fastest run speed. This would be awesome for chasing people down, chasing rogues and stuff like that. It would make you think twice. You'd have to go empty out your backpack and stuff like that. We would even do something like, it would be like 9 items in your little chassis thing or your little bio bag, and you would be slower. And there are a lot of things that we can do with this. So anyways, that's my time. Thank you so much for watching this. And we're going to be, doing a lot of these. I'm going to try and do one every day this week if I can. And we're going to do them all the way up to the January date with a new ETF meets. And if we go, that's great. If we don't, I don't really mind, because, that's just the way it is. I'm here to help in any way possible, sharing my ideas. And the best way I feel like to share them isn't going out to an ETF. It's sharing them here with you guys and getting you guys excited. So if this video whetted your appetite to hear what I have in terms of ideas for the Dark Zone and beyond, hit that like button, subscribe to our channel to tune in every day for our latest video. And for all of us here at the Division Let's Talk, I am Mounty Carl, and we'll leave the light in the Dark Zone on for you. Agent out.